Her key didn't work. I heard it rattle in the lock. Once, twice, then a frustrated sigh. And for the first time in months, I smiled. A real one. She knocked. Then she called my name. I didn't answer. Let me guess, you think I'm being petty? That I should have opened the door? That maybe I owed her a conversation? She left. 7 days ago. Voluntarily. Suitcase in hand. Sunglasses on indoors like some kind of B-movie star, telling me she needed to disconnect for a while. I asked her from what? She said, everything. You. This life. Just a reset. I'll be back in a week. But let's rewind to day 3. That's when the first text came. Not from her. From an unsaved number. Hey, just want to make sure we're cool. Didn't know she was married. I stared at it for 20 minutes. My fingers hovered over the keyboard. But what do you even say to that? Thanks for the heads up. Random guy who's apparently dating my wife while she's on a clarity retreat. I didn't reply. I screenshot it. And then I started digging. Her solo cabin trip had a hot tub. I know this because someone tagged her elbow in a photo. Yes, her elbow. I recognized the little freckle. That's how far gone I was. That's how obsessed I'd become, with proving to myself that I wasn't crazy. She wasn't alone. She never was. So I made a plan. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. Okay, fine. I cried a little. A lot. Into a box of cereal at 2 a.m. while watching videos of us apple picking last fall. But I didn't confront her. That's what makes this different. Because by the time she walked back into this building, makeup smudged, suitcase scuffed, that fake, I'm innocent smile barely glued to her face, she didn't know everything had already changed. New locks. New layout. Her favorite mug? Gone. Her framed quote above the bed? Shattered. Her place in this life? Reassigned. And no, I didn't cheat. I didn't burn her clothes or slash her tires. I did something worse. I moved on. Without warning. Without closure. Without one more let's talk. She asked for space. I gave her silence. And this is only the beginning. She kept knocking. First with confidence, then with desperation. I stood on the other side of the door, heart racing, phone in hand, filming the whole thing. Not to post, not for revenge. Just to remind myself later, this happened. I wasn't dreaming. She really left. And she really came crawling back. Vernon, open the door. She shouted. My name sounded foreign in her voice now. Like it didn't fit anymore. Like it was never hers to say. I didn't speak. I walked away. Now let me explain something before you think I've lost it. I didn't lock her out to punish her. I did it because if I let her in, I'd forget everything I'd seen in those 7 days. I'd forget the blurry mirror selfie with that guy's shoulder in the frame. The voice message she accidentally sent that started with, "No, he still thinks I'm at that lake house," and abruptly cut off. The Venmo transaction labeled Fire Weekend Escape Fire that wasn't sent to her cousin like she claimed, but to someone named Ty. Ty, what a name. Sounds like a guy who owns multiple protein shakers and thinks cologne is a personality. But this wasn't about Ty. Or her. Not anymore. Day 4 was when I emptied the closet. Not angrily, not dramatically. I just packed her things neatly into the bins we always said we'd use someday when we move. The irony choked me. Day 5, I emailed the landlord and changed the lease to my name only. Day 6, I took down every framed photo in the apartment. Wedding, holidays, even the stupid photo booth strip from the state fair where she made me wear matching hats. And day 7, the day she said she'd return, that's when I left the apartment spotless, sanitized, soulless, just like me by then. She didn't expect silence. That's the thing about people who manipulate. They're prepared for confrontation, not absence. She expected a meltdown. She probably rehearsed her lines in the Uber. It was harmless. You drove me to this. It was just 1 week. But there I was. Gone. Quiet. Empty. I finally answered her calls on the 4th ring. Not with words. I sent her a photo. Just one. Her toothbrush in the trash can. Right on top. Still wet from the sink where I'd used it to clean the grout. One last favor for the apartment we used to call home. She called me 10 times after that. Left voicemails ranging from crying to cursing. Said I was overreacting. Said I was cruel. Said, "You knew I needed time, Vernon. You knew I wasn't okay." But here's what she didn't know. I wasn't okay either. I hadn't been okay for months. I was dying in that marriage. Quietly. Bleeding love she didn't even notice. And now that she wanted to come back, there was no blood left to give. She stopped knocking after 15 minutes. Maybe 20. I watched through the peephole as she finally sat down outside the door, knees to her chest like she used to sit on our kitchen counter while I made her late-night pancakes. That image used to make my chest warm. Now it just made my stomach twist. She didn't look guilty. She looked annoyed. Like the universe owed her an explanation for why the welcome mat had been yanked out from under her. I went to the bedroom and sat down on the edge of the bed. Not our bed anymore, technically. I'd flipped the mattress that morning, threw out the pillowcases we'd argued over, and donated her stupid eucalyptus-scented diffuser that always made my eyes burn. I was done sleeping in the smell of someone who lied with a calm voice. Then my phone buzzed again. New number. This one had a name, Ty Landers. He had the audacity to text me. Didn't know she was married. Sorry, man. She said y'all were separated. The casual tone, like he bumped into me at a gas station and spilled my coffee. Not like he spent a weekend wrapped around my wife. I wanted to throw the phone across the room. But instead, I responded. For once, I wasn't going to be the quiet one. I wrote, she left for a week. To find herself. Guess she found you instead. No reply. Figures. I stared at the screen, fingers trembling, heart thudding. That's when I noticed something. Ty had a profile picture. I tapped it. And just like that, everything snapped into place. He wasn't a stranger. He was my cousin's old roommate. From community college. We'd had beers. I'd driven him home once when he was drunk. I remembered he wore flip-flops in December and called every woman dude. And he'd been in my living room before. I ran to the cabinet, pulled out the old photo albums. Lorna hated them, said paper memories are for boomers. But I kept them anyway. On page 12, there he was, holding a red Solo cup, standing next to my wife, smiling. She knew exactly who he was. She knew exactly what she was doing. The betrayal wasn't some spontaneous oops. It was coordinated, rehearsed, premeditated. And she thought I'd be too soft, too passive, too pathetic to connect the dots. But that's the thing about quiet men. We listen. We remember. We collect pieces until the whole picture turns. That night, I left the apartment for the first time in a week. I didn't tell her. I didn't answer her calls. I didn't even look back when I passed her sitting there in the hallway, knees still tucked, eyes blank. Let her wait. Let her stew in the silence she begged for. Because I wasn't done yet. Not by a long shot. I didn't go far. Just sat in my car across the street and watched. I don't even know what I was waiting for. Maybe for her to leave. Maybe for Ty to show up. Maybe to feel something other than nausea. The glow from our old apartment window used to feel like home. Now it looked like a crime scene. One where I buried the version of me that believed in her. An hour passed. Then 2. She never left the hallway. Didn't call again either. Which meant she was doing what she always did when cornered. Waiting for me to make the first move. To absorb the blame. To comfort her through her own mess. Not this time. The next morning, I got a knock on my door. Not hers. Mine. Different apartment. Same city. Rented it 2 days before she got back, under a fake name, using a prepaid card. Yes, I was that far gone. That prepared. I needed a space she couldn't stain with her perfume or her memories. But someone had found it. I opened the door. And there she was. No makeup. Hoodie. Swollen eyes. Holding a paper bag like some kind of peace offering. Can we talk? She whispered. I didn't say anything. I didn't move. I don't even know what happened, she went on. I felt so trapped. And then Ty showed up at that party, and I made a mistake. A mistake. That's what she called it. Not betrayal. Not manipulation. Not calculated deceit with a man she already knew. A man who once drank beer on our patio while I grilled chicken for both of them. I let her keep talking. That's the thing with people like her. The more rope you give them, the more they hang themselves. She cried. Blamed stress. Said she wasn't thinking clearly. Claimed she didn't sleep with him until day 5, as if that was some moral line I should be grateful for. Then she hit me with it. I want to come back. I want to fix this. Fix what? You don't fix a bridge you set on fire with gasoline and a grin. You don't rebuild a house after throwing a bomb in the living room and walking away to clear your head. I finally spoke. You already came back. You just weren't invited in. Her lip quivered. She reached out to touch my chest, and I flinched, an instinct I didn't even know I had. That's when I saw it. That flicker in her eyes. Not pain, not guilt, just shock. That I wasn't crawling back. That the doormat had grown spikes. I gave you 7 days, I said quietly. You used 5 of them to lie, and the last 2 to pretend. And I shut the door. Not slowly. Not cruelly. Just, finally. Because closure doesn't come with fireworks. Sometimes, it comes with a soft click and silence. But I wasn't done. Because as I leaned against the wall, breathing in the stale air of my new, empty apartment, my phone lit up again. This time, it wasn't her. It was Ty. Hey, you need to know something about Lorna. Something I didn't realize until last night. I stared at the message. My fingers didn't move. Because whatever it was going to make everything worse. I stared at Ty's message for a long time before opening it. Not because I cared what he had to say, but because I didn't want to know anything more about the woman I used to love. Every truth was like a pin in my spine, and I was already walking crooked. But I opened it anyway. I didn't know she told you we just met. She told me you two were separated for a year. She said you cheated first. I blinked. My thumb hovered over the screen. I had to reread it twice. Then 3 times. Separated for a year? I'd just ironed her blouse 2 weeks ago. And I cheated? The most scandalous thing I'd done in 12 months was eat her gluten-free brownies when she wasn't looking. But there it was. The story she fed him. And I could tell by his tone, he genuinely believed her. Which meant there were probably others who did too. Which meant somewhere, beyond my apartment walls, I wasn't just the heartbroken fool. I was the villain in her version. That shattered something deeper than the cheating. I wrote back. You're not the first, are you? No answer. For hours. I didn't move from the couch. The room was dark except for the screen of my phone. It stayed that way until almost midnight, when another text finally came through. Look, I don't want to get dragged into your stuff. But there was a guy in June. She told me he hit her. Said you ignored it. That's why she couldn't go back. I felt sick. Not angry. Just cold. Empty. Because now she wasn't just rewriting our marriage. She was erasing my character. I wasn't perfect. I was passive. I let things slide too often. I gave more than I got. But I never, ever laid a finger on her. And for her to even suggest that to someone else, to weaponize that kind of lie, that wasn't confusion. That was cruelty. The worst part? It worked. Ty believed her. Which meant, probably, so did the guy before him. And whoever came after. She wasn't just trying to escape me. She was trying to rewrite me. I didn't sleep that night. The next morning, I pulled out our old storage bin from the closet. The one she never touched, said it was filled with dusty junk. But it had everything. Photos, receipts, notes, proof. Years of boring, quiet, undeniable truth. I started taking pictures of all of it. Not to expose her. Not yet. But to protect myself. To prepare. Because people like Lorna don't stop after you close the door. They knock again. And when no one answers, they tell the neighbors you were never home. I spent the whole day building a folder. Printed documents. Screenshots. Everything with dates. Times. Her handwriting. My loyalty in black and white. And that's when it hit me. She wasn't just going to lie about the past. She was going to weaponize it in the future. I opened a blank Word doc. And for the first time, I started writing my side. Every date. Every shift. Every red flag I ignored. Because if she was going to tell her story, I was going to make sure the truth had teeth. It happened faster than I expected. The first letter came 2 days later. A pale envelope slipped under the door of my new apartment. No name on it. No return address. Just my full name in handwriting I didn't recognize, but I knew exactly where it came from. Inside was a note. A real, printed-out letter. Formal. Too formal. It started with, "This is a courtesy warning before potential legal involvement." I read it once. Then again. My heart beat so fast it felt like I was being punched from the inside. Legal involvement? It claimed I had unreasonably evicted my wife, that I had withheld personal property, and refused communication during a period of marital distress. It made me sound like some cold, controlling husband who locked his fragile wife out in a storm. There was even a suggestion, not a threat, a suggestion, that she may need to pursue emergency spousal support. She was preparing for war. I just stood there in the doorway, letter in one hand, phone in the other. My fingers trembling. My jaw clenched so tight it hurt. This wasn't about coming back to talk. This wasn't about saving the marriage. This was her laying the groundwork to paint herself as a victim, on paper, in court, maybe even online. And I knew what came next. She was going to tell people I kicked her out, that I shut her out of her own home, that she was broken, sobbing on the hallway floor while I ignored her pain. And worst of all, some people were going to believe her, because she knew how to cry on cue. She knew how to speak softly and tremble just enough to make her voice crack. I'd seen her do it to bosses, to friends, to my own mother once, and win every time. But not this time. I called a lawyer. Not one of those billboard types who screams on late-night commercials. A real one. Quiet. Direct. She listened as I told her everything. Every message. Every receipt. Every photo. I sent her a link to the folder I'd built. She didn't speak for a full minute. Then she said something that made my stomach drop. You need to file first. File. For separation. Possibly for divorce. Me. The guy who was still saving her contact as Lorna Red Heart until 2 days ago. The guy who kept her favorite coffee syrup on the kitchen shelf even in the new apartment. The guy who still double-checked the locks at night out of habit because she used to be afraid of break-ins. I felt like I was suffocating. Not because I didn't want to end it, but because I didn't want to believe she did. But I nodded. And I agreed. Because the only thing worse than losing her now would be letting her rewrite how it ended. And if she wanted a legal battle, I'd give her one. But with facts. With dates. With truth. Not with tears. I didn't expect her sister to call me. Not after everything. Not after Lorna spun her web so thoroughly that even people I thought I could trust had stopped replying to my texts. Friends grew cold. Her coworkers blocked me. One of our mutual friends even messaged me, saying, I really hope you get the help you need. That one stung. But then, 2 nights after I met with the lawyer, my phone buzzed at 11:52 p.m. Sadie, Lorna's younger sister. The one who never liked me, never texted unless it was a birthday or a wedding reminder. I almost didn't answer, but something told me I had to. The moment I picked up, she said, I'm not supposed to be calling you. I stayed quiet. I had learned by now. Silence was more revealing than words. She's saying some wild things, Vernon, Sadie went on, her voice low, like she was afraid Lorna might hear her from across the city. She's telling people you used to hide her keys so she couldn't leave the apartment. That you read her messages and tracked her location. That she felt like a prisoner. A prisoner. I laughed. Not because it was funny. Because it was so upside down it made my chest ache. I was the one trapped. I was the one begging for affection, for answers, for honesty. She's lying, I said calmly. And she's about to take it to court. Sadie was quiet. Then she said something I didn't expect. Something that shifted everything. I believe you. 3 words. Just 3. But they hit harder than any lie Lorna had thrown my way. I sat down slowly, the weight of it settling in. I stayed with her last night, Sadie continued. I found a second phone, hidden in the bathroom drawer. When I asked her about it, she snapped. Said I was violating her privacy. Second phone. I asked, my voice dry. She's still texting Ty. And someone else. I saw a name I didn't recognize. She's talking about planting things and keeping the narrative clean. Vernon, I don't know what she's planning, but it's not just about divorce. It's about destroying you. That night, I didn't sleep again. I sat with my laptop open, staring at the folder I had built. Every receipt, every photo, every timeline. I added a new folder. Labeled it, Defense. This wasn't about heartbreak anymore. It was about survival. Lorna wasn't trying to walk away. She was trying to burn the ground behind her. Make sure no one followed. No one questioned. No one asked. Wait, was it really him? But now I had someone on the inside. Someone who saw through the cracks in her act. And if Lorna wanted a performance, I was ready to show the world what the truth really looked like. No edits, no filters, and no more silence. The court date came faster than I expected. Maybe that was her strategy. Hit fast, disorient me, make sure I didn't have time to prepare. But she underestimated something. Someone like me, the quiet one, the soft one. When we hurt, we don't scream. We organize. She came in wearing white. Like she was starring in some courtroom drama where she'd cry on the stand and win the sympathy of every stranger in the room. She barely looked at me. I didn't look at her at all. I kept my eyes on the judge, on the papers in my hand, on the truth I had curated with precision. My lawyer opened with facts. Dates. Messages. The second phone Sadie had found. The Instagram screenshots with fake captions about me isolating her, posted while she was quite literally in a hot tub with Ty. The Venmo logs. The vacation receipts billed to a joint card while she was supposedly at her sister's. And then came the kicker. A recorded voice memo Sadie had taken, where Lorna admitted to lying because Vernon's too nice to fight back. The courtroom was silent after that one. She shifted in her chair, flushed, finally looked at me. But I wasn't there to meet her eyes. I was there to end the story. We settled that day. Fast. Clean. No spousal support. No property claims. She even agreed to sign a statement retracting prior accusations. My lawyer made sure of it. Lorna left that building with her chin high, but her shadow trailing behind her looked smaller than ever. I didn't celebrate that night. I didn't go out or post a cryptic quote online. I went home, not the apartment we shared, but the quiet, sunlit space I had made mine. And I sat in the kitchen with Muscles, the cat she forgot to ask about even once. Then I got a message. Not from Ty. Not from Sadie. From a number I didn't know. You don't know me, but I know what she told people about you. I'm sorry I believed her. I see it now. You never deserved that. I read it 3 times. It didn't fix everything, but it was enough. Enough to remind me that truth echoes, even when lies scream louder at first. Months passed. I started hiking, joined a photography group, said yes to coffee with a friend who'd always kept her distance out of respect. Her name is Heather. She doesn't ask for space, she creates it. Space for honesty, laughter, stillness. One evening, Heather asked me, "Do you still think about her?" I answered honestly, "No, but sometimes I think about who I used to be when I was with her. And I'm just glad. I'm not that man anymore." The pain didn't vanish, but it got quieter. And for the first time in years, my silence wasn't a survival tactic. It was peace.